Elon Musk has been put on legal notice over the $1 million voter giveaway. It potentially, apparently, could violate federal law. Apparently, there's a law prohibiting vote buying, and it does so in broad terms, covering any payment made or offered to someone in connection with voting in a federal election. Mark, you know, it is skating on thin ice, isn't it, for Musk?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's ridiculous. I've never I've been around a long time. I've never seen anything like this, and I've been involved previously a lot in politics. Yes, in my opinion, it violates the law. Now, I think it's a little weird that the Department of Justice just sent him a warning notice. I guess the argument could be made that it puts him on notice that he might be violating the law. But if he's violating the law, he's violating the law. And the right step would have been to go get an injunction to prevent him from doing this. Now, my opinion is they were probably a little skittish about doing anything with the election so close. So, an argument could be made that it's not really buying votes, that he's just getting people to sign petitions for the First Amendment regarding free speech and the Second Amendment regarding gun ownership, but that's baloney. Because part of the thing that he's doing is some of the people who've won, in some cases, $1 million in prizes, are then put on ads to support Donald Trump. So to me, it's a sham. And part of it, there's a couple of different things he's done. Number one is pay people to sign the petition, to refer people to sign these petitions, and then also to give away these prizes as much as $1 million for people who have signed these petitions. I guess the limitation is they have to be registered voters. But in my opinion, I think it's really, as you put it, skating on thin ice. I mean, it's, I think part of the thing is that the Justice Department right now is a little skittish about doing anything with the election very shortly coming up. And particularly with Donald Trump's numerous problems. And Musk has really thrown his weight in behind Donald Trump. So I think an argument can be made they'll do something about this later, but it's a little too late. I think it's not. I think it's complete nonsense.
Well, I mean, where does it end? I mean, where does it end in that case? I mean, if you let Musk off the hook, then surely it says that anyone with loads and loads of money out there can do the same thing for any political party.
No, you're right. No, what's happening? Let me just give you a little bit of background behind this too. There used to be limitations on what people can contribute through PACs, for example, and that was eliminated by the U.S. Supreme Court in a case called Citizens United. Now, this is really different, where he's giving away prize money, which is nonsense which is, I think, a sham to really get people to go out and support Trump, because people know that he's a Trump supporter. He's also, a part of this is also they have to go to a rally that where he's going to talk about Donald Trump. So what do they think he's doing? Of course he's buying votes. And so I think it's a clear violation. Now, I think it's too little too late to wait. But I think, if you put, they're doing a so-called quote unquote investigation. But if they could easily seek a preliminary injunction and prevent this. But I think they're very skittish about doing this. So your question about is where does this all end? There is no ending when you deal with the Trump supporters. It's nonsense.
Thank you. Thank you. Coming to the UK, Joseph, I mean, the closest I guess we've got with wealthy men getting involved in politics is Lord Ali and all of the questions about, the donations for clothes and what have you, and the optics, to use an American phrase, and what have you. But he's been reported as a lord in the House of Lords and over the Declaration of Interest. But tell us about the legals when it comes to wealthy, usually men, wealthy people propping up politicians and their campaigns in the UK.
Well, first of all, Tricia, good afternoon for the final time. Good afternoon to everybody at home, all your wonderful listeners and watchers. There's a couple of things going on with politicians who are supported by donors. Of course, Lord Ali is a politician and a donor, and probably the most attention he's had is all his buying of clothes. And was there a fancy apartment that was provided in the United States for Angela Rayner, that very salt of the earth northern character, going on fancy New York holidays? But there are two things going on. First of all, you have to be very clear, especially if you're a member of Parliament, and that includes in the House of Lords. Don't forget, Ali is a life peer. That if there are any interests that the electorate should know about that might influence the way in which you vote, i.e. you're voting with your personal pocket in mind, or there's a risk of that, well, that should be seen. It doesn't mean that you can't have interest. It means you've got to be really careful about them. And he's been stung a little bit because on 4 different occasions, he's basically either failed to declare certain interests or done it in the wrong way. There's no suggestion, I should say, or no impression that's really given a foul play or that anything's being hidden. But it really shows how important it is. And it's a good warning of how important it is that the public are able to get this information. Not that the public look it up, but if something stinks, of course, there are news hounds who are looking through these registers, aren't there, seeing what muck they can rake to make a good story, and quite right. But I think there is one observation you could make, both about the Trump situation and Elon Musk and his registering vote buying competitions or whatever, and indeed things like the buying of the clothes or whatever. If those types of things happen, even if they're against the law, of course, there are mechanisms, and the skittishness that Mark's referred to in America so close to the election of doing something that involves real teeth, you can understand that. And similarly, even if there are penalties that are given to members of parliament, it's not actually the penalty that does the damage. It's the political blowback from the stupidity. And I would like to think, in Mark's case, and in the case of the United States, that there are probably as many people who see that, who see straight through it. It's buying votes, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And they're the argument for the other side is that, well, you're kind of buying votes-ish, but it's a competition. It's a bit like one of those things where you enter a random competition, but you've technically got to do a spot the ball so that it counts as a game of skill. Everybody knows what it really is. I think that would harden a lot of neutral voters who turn around and say, I think this is disgusting, and I'm either not going to vote for the person who I was going to vote for, the Republicans, or maybe even change my vote to the Democrats in protest. And I think the same is true when politicians are being bought fancy suits and all of that type of stuff. Full disclosure, declaration of no interest. This bought from Marks and Spencer's by yours truly, Tricia.